Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this guy right here, Templars Journey by the Moliis brothers, I think is how you pronounce that name. And it's put out by Queen Games. So you're trying to get the most points is the whole point of the game. And you do that by playing cards from your hands. Everybody has the same cards in their hands. So it's definitely a Euro style game, but it has that Templar Knights crusading theme slapped onto it. So let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back for my final thoughts. So here I have set up for you a 3-player game of Templars Journey. Now, Templars Journey is a game that will take place over the course of 6 rounds, and 3 of those rounds are going to be action rounds. 3 of them are going to be shipping rounds. Action rounds take place in these areas of the board here, and then shipping rounds take place in these areas of the board here. So you'll have a action round, a shipping round, action round, shipping round, action round, shipping round, and then final scoring. The first thing that a player will do on their turn is take the Pope, who starts right here, and move him to either a green spot or a red spot. A green action will allow you to take one of your knights and place him on the board in one of the cities where you have a Templar present. If he goes to a red action, he can take another player's knight out of a city where he has a Templar present. Now, the action cards that people have in their hand are of 3 different kinds, basically. The gold ones are just for that. You're going to gain gold that you can use to purchase more knights and that type of thing later on. You also have red cards, which are used to either add knights to a city or take away an opponent's knights from a city. And then finally, the blue cards are for moving your Templars from region to region. Now, on top of that, each type of card has a safe action, denoted by the green shield, and a risky action, denoted by the red sword. The safe action is basically where you're going to be able to do that action no matter how many other people choose that same action. But if you choose the risky action, depending on how many people are playing the game, it's possible that you won't be able to do the really good action. You'll have to do a less okay action, and you'll probably have to remove one of your guys from the board. So, for example, if you do a safe action for taking gold, you'll be able to take 3 gold from a province where your Templar is present, or an adjacent province. So, if I played this one, I would be able to take 3 gold from this stack, or an adjacent stack. Or I could take 3 gold from here, or an adjacent stack up here. If I do the risky action, I can take all the gold from the section where he is or adjacent. But if more than, for example, in a 3-player game, if 2 people pick this same action, then both of them can only take 2 gold out of the province where they have a Templar present, and they have to remove a guy from that province as well. Now, the red cards. The safe action here, you can pay 2 gold and put a guy in, or remove an opponent's knight from a city. Additionally, you can pay 1 gold and flip the chance token. Now, the chance token is you pay a gold and you flip it. If it falls to this side where it's blank, then you've lost your gold and you're not able to carry out the action of the card. But if it lands here, you can carry out the action of the card and continue to move. Now, if you see here, it says that there is a 6 max. So this action can be used by a maximum of 6 gold. So if you just choose to pay 2 gold each, that means you'll be able to either put 3 of your knights down or remove 3 knights from somebody else, because that's a maximum 6 gold. But if you're choosing to do this down here, it is possible for you to put 6 knights or remove 6 knights if you're doing well at flipping that token. The risky action is you can pay 2 gold and replace an opponent's knight in a city, instead of having to just add or just take away. You can do both in one action, but it's risky. So if 2 or more people in a 3-player game play this same card at the same time, you can pay 2 gold and remove one of an opponent's and remove one of yours. Now the blue cards is where you're going to be moving your Templar around. So this is the risky action. You can move your Templar anywhere from 0 to 3 provinces, taking a gold from each province that you move through. If you do this, you are also able to take an edict and switch it with another one. So for example, if I chose to move my guy, he could go 1, 2, 3, and end up here in Venezia. I would be able to take a gold from here, here, and here, put it into my coffers, and then I can switch Venezia, which is right over here, with any other province that's still on the board, that still has an edict on the board. So I could say, you know what, I don't want Leon to score. I'm going to put it way over here so that Venezia scores before Leon does. If, again, 2 or more people play this same card, I can move my my Templar 3 spaces, up to 3 spaces, take a gold from the last province that I stop in, and I would have to remove one of my guys from that city if I had any guys there. So the safe action is you just move 0 to 3. You don't get to take any money out of those provinces. And if the Pope is on a green spot, wherever you end, you can put a guy there. Or if he's on a red spot, wherever you end, you can take a guy out. So for a basic action round, to begin with, green is going to go ahead and go to a green spot and take one of his knights and add it to Paris. And then everybody's going to take one of their cards and choose from their selection. Everybody has the same cards. So once everybody has chosen one card, we flip them over simultaneously. And then in turn order, starting with the first player, that we get to carry out those actions. So first we check to make sure that 2 or more players did not play the same thing. Nobody did. So we look at this, and green player is going to take the maximum amount of gold from one of the provinces where he has a Templar. So he's going to look at what everybody else has played first. Okay, so yellow also is wanting to take gold. There's nothing really that they can do to stop that, so we're going to go ahead and choose to take from Barcelona. So all the gold, because I played the risky part, is added to my coffers. And then yellow also did the same kind of action, but they're only going to be able to take 3 gold out of the same province or an adjacent province. So we're going to go ahead and just take 3 gold from here. That gets added to my coffers. Now, red here decided to add people to one of his provinces where he has a Templar. So he is going to pay 4 gold, which is the most he can pay, and add that to the bank. Then he's going to take 2 of his people, and he can add them to any place where there is room and he has a Templar. So if you wanted to add it to Paris here, he would not be able to do so because Paris is full. But he would be able to remove somebody if he wanted to. So maybe he wants to remove yellow, and then that second action, he can add somebody in. Remember, he paid for 2 of them, so he can add in or take away. And so that is the end of his turn. The yellow one that got removed goes into the temple, where on the player board for yellow, and then this one that isn't going to be added just goes back to his pile. And so the cards would be put back into our hands. The first player token would move, and now it's the second player's turn to go first. Now, after the action round has finished, the shipping round begins as soon as the Pope moves to a spot that is at the beginning of a harbor space, basically. So at this point, both cities in this shipping round are scored. So Barcelona, which is here, and Paris are the two that are going to be scored. Barcelona gets scored first. So we look at who has the majority here. They will get 2 points. So yellow has majority. They get 2 points. And they also get the edict tile that is here. Next, if the city is completely occupied, in other words, there are no empty spaces there, each player gets 1 point for having presence in that city. So yellow would get 1 more and green would get 1 more. And then we assign knights to the ships. All right, so starting with the person who has the majority, they get to add 1, and then the other people get to add 1, and so forth and so on. So it just worked out that both players were able to get 2 knights on the ship. Now for each player that have knights on the ship, they both get 1 point. So green and yellow both get 1 point, and then they also get points for each of their own knights. So yellow would get 2 more and green would get 2 more. All right, and then if there are any knights left on the city that were not able to make it to the boat, they get added back to their temple on their player board, and then this tile is removed from the game. And now we go to score Paris. Paris, we look, and it is completely full. So green would get 2 points, 1, 2. And then each player that is present in the city, because the city is full, also gets another point. So both of those guys move forward like this. And then we begin assigning like so. So this point, green, is going to have all but 1 of their knights get on there. And yellow has 1. This knight would go back to the temple, and then we score over here. So green and yellow both get 1 point, and then green gets 1 more for the knight that he has there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, green gets 4 more points, 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. And then green is also awarded this edict. At this point now, we look at the number of knights that each player has in their temples. And at the beginning of the first shipping round, or rather at the end, the person who has the most knights in their temple score 2 points. So yellow would be able to move up 2 here as well. And then the first player, being yellow, takes and move this over to the next spot, and now they can choose green or red, and another action round begins. Now, you may be asking, are knights in the temple only good for scoring at the end of shipping rounds? The quick answer is no, they aren't. They can also be used to procure the Pope's favor throughout the course of the game. Now, what this means is that, first of all, up here, if you're ever flipping the chance token in order to add guys to the board and it lands where you don't get to add anything, you can pay 1 guy from your temple and reflip that token, so that maybe you do get it this time or maybe you don't. Another thing you can do is if you're ever using the taxation action from your cards, the 1 or 2, you can pay 2 knights from your temple and get a bonus 2 coins from either the adjacent territory or the one where your knight Templar is present. You can pay 3 knights from your temple to basically, after you have moved the Pope on this track, you can use 3 knights to move that to another person. So maybe you want to go to the person behind you, and then they will be the first player during the action playing the card phase of your turn. And then, just like normal, it would come back to you, and then you'd be able to go again, choosing which route the Pope takes, and then being first in that next round. Or you can also use 4 knights when somebody else is trying to switch. Let's see, where is it? This one right here. When somebody else is trying to switch the edicts and change the order in which they score, you can pay 4 knights from your temple and say, no, you can't change the edicts. You can do everything else that the card does, but you can't change the edicts. And that is basically how the game plays. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. There are these final scoring cards that are basically like goals that you can try to shoot for. Everybody starts with their own that is secret, and then There are always 5 in the game. So in a 3-player game, 3 of them are secret. Only 1 person knows about it, but 2 are always out. In a 4-player game, 4 will be secret, 1 will be known for everybody. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. So that is Templars' journey from Queen Games and the Moliis brothers as designers. Now, there was a lot about this game that I really did enjoy. I liked the fact that everybody had the same cards to begin with, so you were dealing with kind of perfect information as far as what people had available to them. I like that. It gives a feeling of, trying to outguess your opponents. You look at the board and you see how they are structuring their previous turns, and you can kind of have an idea of what they might be doing this turn. And so there's that give and go, that tightrope that you're walking with, trying to do the best action that you possibly can do, but still trying to not be that second, third, or fourth person that is playing the same thing as everybody else, because then everybody gets hosed. But I do also like that because you can kind of push your luck there a little bit and try to get a really good action, but you're risking the fact that you might actually lose some of your knights, which is what you really don't want to do in this game, because it's all about majority control in those cities when they score. I like the fact that everybody has a secret goal card at the very beginning of the game that only they know about, and so they can secretly work towards that goal that nobody else knows about. Now, there is a list of those cards on the back page of the rule book, so everybody knows possibly what's out there, but they don't know which ones are actually active, because 2 of them are left out of every game. So I also like that, where there's some replayability value that's there. Now, I played this with 3 and 4 players and didn't get a chance to play it with 5. But a 3-player game seems pretty open. However, there's only 2 people have to play the same thing in order to, on those risky cards, in order to get hosed by them. So that's a little bit tighter of a tightrope than in a 4 or 5-player game. Now, in a 4-player game, I did find the board to be a lot tighter, so I would imagine, just by following suit, that a 5-player game would be really, really tight, that you would just have to kind of almost pick and choose what cities you're going to go for, because you're not going to be able to get in on all of them. Even in a 4-player game, you're really not able to do that. So that's a cool thing as well. There's that each level of the game plays slightly differently than the others. The component quality of the game is decent. It's probably what you could expect from a Euro-style game from Queen. They are not bad components, but they are also not very flashy either. I thought that the board looked nice, maybe a little bit busy, especially towards the end of the game, where there's a lot of knights out on the board for those well, maybe towards the middle of the game and towards the end, where there's a lot of knights out there and you have to struggle to kind of see how many spots are left in a city. Is there a spot left that I could possibly move in there? So that would probably be the only hang up, I guess you could say, from the board. Otherwise, I think the cities are well spaced out. The lines of demarcation between the different provinces are all well marked. There's no questions there. Where the mountains are is very clear as well, because you can't traverse the mountains when you're using that 5 or 6 to move between provinces with your Templar. You have to go around. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. So I really do like the game. I think it's a decent game. It's not very heavy on the theme. It's more mechanically driven, but that's okay every once in a while. This is a lightweight family style game. It's not heavy at all, so it is one of those Euro style games that I enjoy, because it doesn't turn into this brain-burny, thinky Olympiad that a lot of heavy Euro games turn out to be for me and in my likings. So with that being said, I'm going to give this one strong thumb up, not a half or 2, because again, it is a family weight Euro game. It's usually not my fare that I'm really chomping at the bit to try, but I will not be disappointed if this does hit the table in the future. It's going to stay on my shelf. I do enjoy it. I probably give it about a 7 out of 10, so that's pretty good from me for a Euro game. But again, remember that it's light, it's family weight, and it's not that difficult to traverse. So that's it from me for Templars Journey from Queen Games. Go out, as I always say, try before you buy, folks, but give this one a look, see what you think. We'll see you guys on the flip side.